All right, guys, so golly, too many interruptions. So it's time to plant food plots here on the hunting grounds. I'm getting around to it a little later than I actually wanted to. Tractor has been broken down. As you can tell, you're going to have to excuse the chickens and the turkeys because we're about 60 yards from their pen and they are fired up this morning. My tractor's been broke down, so luckily my friend Scotty's let me use his tractor today. But there's things that have to get done and stuff that we've got to plant before we can get the tractor with the PH Outdoors drill from Wildlife Farming out here on this food plot. And the first thing is we are planting our screens or our borders, whatever you'd like to call them. One reason, it's going to separate all this mess of the turkeys and chickens and the barn and all the human activity from the food plot that's only 60 plus yards away. It's never bothered the deer, but I like to have that screen and that security. I like to keep these deer out in the food plot as long as possible and get them there as early as possible. So we're going to be planting today's the Incognito from Domain Seed. Now it's got a mix of Egyptian wheat, sorghum, and Sudan grass. This stuff is going to grow nice and tall. It's very easy to plant. I'm going to show you guys the way we're going to plant it without using any big expensive equipment today. Now I like to stick away from disking when I can, but there's just some applications when disking is the best option. So I came in and disked yesterday, gave it a little time to dry out. I'm only going to be disking in the areas where I'm planting the Incognito. This year I'm doing something a little different in some of the areas that I am planting this. Areas that I want to make sure that something is growing up every single year, so I don't have to come back and plant it every single year like the Incognito. I've now got the switchgrass. This switchgrass was, Domain's got a couple different varieties of switchgrass, which is really awesome. This is the big rock switchgrass. And I'm going to go through and spread this separate after I spread the Incognito. And that's going to allow, hopefully, this to get established this year. And usually by year 2, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4, maybe 5 feet, of height of the switchgrass. And then like year 3 and on, it can be anywhere from 4, 5, 6, 7 foot tall, a switchgrass, depending on how well it does. But in areas that I want something to grow up every single year, I'm going to go back in and plant the switchgrass over the top of the Incognito. Some of the barriers that I put in this food plot, I'm going to be just putting the Incognito because I do want to terminate it. If it doesn't seem to maneuver the deer in the way that I'd like them to maneuver in the food plot, I can always change it up next year. Now, talking about the food plot, this is what we call the big plot, the big domain plot. It's going to be close to 3 acres in size. I got switchgrass around it. I've edge feathered all the way around this. It's got a lot of edging. It's got a lot of bedding all the way around it. But one thing this last year that I didn't do, I did not put a border through the middle of this, which made it really easy for the deer to come in, especially the big 8-point that I was hunting and the big 10. They could come in the far side of this away from the shooting house, and they'd be able to clearly come in, take a few nibbles, scan the food plot, spend a little bit of time on the far end, just make sure nothing walked in while they were in, and then they were out. So in years past, I've divided it up. I didn't know where I wanted it divided this last year. Figure I'd change it up and just go, I'm just going to plant it all and not divide it and just see how the deer do. They did exactly what I knew they were going to do, and that was not work the food plot. So this year I've cut lines in here that won't hinder any of the shots, especially a rifle shot, from our main blind over this field. It's going to, from the deer's perspective, when they're out in the field, divided almost up into 3 sections. So when a buck comes in, a doe walks in, or whatever, they have to work through these different sections to see if there's anybody else in the food plot, or if they want security and the does want to get a little further away from their bucks, they can, go into one of these other little pockets. But from the blind's perspective, you're going to be able to see down each one of these lanes. The lanes kind of come in to the middle of the plot and then they stop. And so it is divided into 3 sections depending on where the deer walks in. But, from our perspective, we'll be able to see every inch of this food plot from the blind. And so it should give us a really cool setup. Now, the way we're going to be planting this, I'm just going to be hand seeding the Incognito. I like to do that. You can use a bag spreader. You can even use a no-till drill if you want. My lanes are not very wide. I'm looking at probably 12 to 15 foot wide. I like to go in and hand spread it. I just get a better feel of how the seed is spreading. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be spreading this over and then taking the switchgrass and some of it and throwing it on top of that. But what I'll probably do is come back in with the disc and lightly disc it, because that's all it needs. These don't need to be covered very much, and then your switchgrass are really small seeds, so you definitely want to be careful not to bury them too deep in there. So let's get going. Let's get planting this stuff because it's super easy. All right, so when it goes to spreading the seed by hand, you could just use this and dump it and spread it, but I find it better to put it in a larger bucket so it's easy to scoop in and broadcast out. So I just finished hand throwing the incognito mix, and as you can tell, there's a strip coming behind me right through here, all the way down here in front of me, and it goes straight. If you look back there, my blind is sitting inside that tree line. I also have another line that I planted coming from over here straight to the blind that way. So it's essentially kind of breaking this up into like a half pie cut with all the openings leading to the blind there. You can see this area here. It's going to have probably at least an acre, if not more, here in this section. Then we have a division, and then we'll have another probably acre, if not more, here in this division. And then the top piece up there is all going to be one kind of division. But say for instance a buck walks out on this corner, in order to see what's on this side, he's going to have to walk through here. And then in order, once he gets over here to see the next, he's gonna have to walk through the next one. Or, this is what I'm hoping, is a lot of times these are directional kind of barriers. A buck will come in here knowing that these all kind of lead up there. That's probably gonna be kind of like a hot spot of traffic and scent up there at the top of this, where that pie piece kind of opens up. And the bucks will probably come in here and work their way up, which will give a closer shot to that blind, possibly even a bow shot. So we are kind of using these for directional maneuverability of the deer. I hope that it does maneuver the deer to kind of go in that direction. But at the same time, if nothing else, it's going to make them where they have to utilize this food plot more to see what's in each one of these little pockets. I will tell you, last year, for over 15 days straight, we had 30 plus deer at a time in the evening in this food plot. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it, but you get that many deer in an open food plot, there's a lot of social pressure. One deer starts acting up over here, one doe starts getting chased by a buck over here, and everybody's just at a hodgepodge, and they're running around and they're leaving and they're coming and going. Say for instance, you're gonna have a doe being chased by a buck in that back pocket. These other deer in these pockets are going to feel a lot more relaxed and probably not even know what's going on or even care about what's going on because they visually can't see it. They can probably hear it, but it's going to help take the social pressure down a lot when they're in here feeding. All right, so now to the fun part. Now we've got the PH Outdoors no-till drill. This is their 3-foot version. We got this from Wildlife Farming. Wildlife Farming has like every piece of equipment that you need as far as land management wise goes. And this is new for this year for us, is a Domain Motherload. I am so excited about this. These things are pretty dang cool because they not only have soybeans in them, they got forage pea, they got blaze pea, lab, a different variety of soybean, buckwheat. And so it's got stuff in there such as like the buckwheat that's going to be a great soil builder. Then you've got some climbing things like the pea. You've got different varieties of the soybean. You've even got some lab in there. And so I like variety. I don't like monoculture. It doesn't seem to do as well, especially out here. So I'm excited to try this out for the first time and see how this does. And planting it with the no-till drill is going to save our butts. They've got a seed chart that you can compare and then kind of calibrate from there. So I've got it going. I've calibrated it. I've opened up the gate, calibrated the gearbox on the side. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with seed. I've got enough to do exactly 3 acres, and then I can test it with this machine here on the back. I can actually roll it through and make sure it's seeding in the amount that I want. And that's important with a machine like this. This is going to take away any of that wasted seed. So instead of laying seed on top of the soil and it washing away, rodents getting it getting dried out by the sun, or simply overspreading too much or too little, this allows you to really be a little bit more specific on planting that stuff that costs you money. Seed is not cheap to buy, and it's not something that you want to waste your money on. So by using a tool like this will allow us to really get the biggest bang for our buck and plant it well. It's not raining today. We have rain in the forecast, but even if there wasn't rain in the forecast, the nice thing about this no-till drill, it's going to embed that seed down in the soil, and there is some kind of moisture in that soil right now, so it's going to go ahead and start the germination process. And then when we get rain in a couple of days, it's going to explode. And then we got rain forecasted in the next week, which is never promised, but if that works out that way, this stuff's going to take off. So let's load it up, test it out, and then get out there planting. Shut up, get over there. I am finishing up planting today. Yesterday I got kicked out a little bit early because I was on and off the tractor multiple times because of the lightning storm. The weather got bad enough, even today, that it was pouring down so bad and the storms were strong enough. It wasn't safe to be on an open cab tractor, even though it's got the canopy, and plus the ground was super duper soggy and muddy. Well, it's had enough time to kind of dry out. What I'm going to be doing is I'm finishing out the food plot because I kind of underestimated the size of the food plot. I did expand it a little bit, and in that I didn't have enough seed. And so I've got a little bit left of the mother load inside the no-till here. And this is something I'm really excited about. This is the Dirty Bird from Domain, because I not only manage my property for deer, but all kinds of wildlife: rabbits, songbirds, turkeys, quail. I want them all to thrive on this property, and diversity is something I strive huge for on this property as far as the native browse. But when you're even planting, I love diversity in the food plots. So this is pretty cool because this has a variety of different millet. It's got sunflower, it's got sorghum, it's got a forage soybean mixed in. I'm excited about this. This is, not only does it have a cool name, but I'm excited to plant it. So I want to mix it with a little bit of the mother load that's left here. We're going to plant it in a portion of the food plot that I've kind of expanded, and it will be a good spot to put it in down there towards the more north end of it. So we'll definitely be able to see and compare how this does compared to the mother load that's going to be planted right next to it. So let's get to planting. Alright, everything's a little bit muddy and a little bit wet. It ended up raining on me again. Guys, hopefully you learned something from this video, or at least see the methods that I'm using on planting my food plots. I love variety, and it's not always with big equipment like this, but if you are looking for equipment for your land management needs, check out Wildlife Farming. These guys are awesome. They have so much more than just no-till drills. They have every implement pretty much, period, for your ATV, tractor, skid steer, whatever. Go check them out because they really provide some awesome products, but at the same time, they will walk you step by step. If you guys want help reaching them or want a direct contact, send me a message, whatever, or write down in the comments, and I'll make sure to hook you guys up with them. Ended up finding out they already had some of the Domain seeds calibrated for the G3. The guys at Wildlife Farming and PH Outdoors both have those lists. They're the makers of the G3 here, is PH Outdoors. Pretty dang cool that you can get on there and find what the calibrations already need to be for specific seeds, so it makes it that much easier. So, but anyway, I'm gonna go inside, get cleaned up, because I have some more food plots to plant, and that's the end of the spring planting with the G3 here. So I'm gonna do the rest by hand. We'll make some more videos, show you guys what we're doing there. Guys, comment down below, give a thumbs up. If you guys have any questions, make sure to comment down below, and until next time, have a better than average day.